the essence of true influence and the boundaries of control. When we think about control, we must begin by asking ourselves what it truly means to have control over something. Control, in its simplest form, can be understood as the ability to influence outcomes according to our will. This ability, however, is not as broad as we might initially believe. There is a distinction, crucial to understand, between what is genuinely within our grasp and what lies beyond it. At the core of Stoic philosophy is the idea that our true power resides within us, in our thoughts, decisions, and reactions. These internal elements are fully under our command. We can choose how we interpret events, how we react to the challenges we face, and what values we hold dear. This is the realm of true freedom, where our autonomy is complete. No external force can compel us to think or react in any specific way unless we allow it. On the other side, we encounter a vast array of external factors, the events that unfold around us, the actions of others, and the outcomes of our endeavors. These are the aspects of life that we might influence to a degree, but cannot entirely control. For example, you can prepare thoroughly for a meeting, but you cannot control the final decision of the other party. You can act with kindness and integrity, but you cannot guarantee that others will respond in kind. The weather, the economy, the actions of other people, these are all beyond our direct influence, no matter how much effort we put into them. Recognizing this distinction between what lies within our influence and what does not is the first step toward wisdom. It prevents us from wasting energy on futile efforts and redirects our focus to where it truly matters, our own mindset and actions. When we mistakenly believe that we can control things that are inherently beyond our influence, we set ourselves up for frustration, anxiety, and disappointment. We become like a sailor trying to control the wind instead of adjusting the sails. This leads to a life of constant struggle and turmoil, where peace of mind remains elusive. Instead, the Stoics teach us to embrace a different approach. By accepting that there are many things outside our control, we free ourselves from the burden of trying to manage them. This acceptance is not an admission of defeat, but a recognition of reality. It is about understanding the limits of our power and focusing on what we can truly affect, our own thoughts, actions, and responses. This shift in perspective is not merely theoretical. It has profound practical implications. It means that we stop fighting against the inevitable and instead learn to navigate life with greater wisdom and serenity. As we consider this distinction, it becomes clear that our peace of mind depends on where we place our focus. If we fixate on things we cannot control, we will constantly be at the mercy of external circumstances, tossed about by the whims of fate. But if we center our attention on what we can control, our own attitudes, choices, and behaviors, we gain a sense of stability and inner strength that remains unshaken by the external world. This is the essence of Stoic resilience, the ability to remain calm and composed no matter what life throws our way. This understanding also leads to an important question. How do we practically apply this distinction in our daily lives? It begins with a conscious effort to shift our focus inward, to the realm of our own thoughts and actions. Whenever we are faced with a challenge or a setback, we can ask ourselves, what part of this situation is within my control? What can I do right now that aligns with my values and principles? By consistently applying this mindset, we train ourselves to respond to life's difficulties with greater wisdom and composure. As we continue to explore this concept, consider this. In what areas of your life are you still trying to control the uncontrollable, and how might that effort be affecting your peace of mind and well-being? How can you begin to refocus your energy on what truly lies within your control? The illusion of control and the path to true freedom. As we delve deeper into the nature of control, it becomes evident that one of the most significant challenges we face is the illusion of control. This illusion is the belief that if we exert enough effort, plan meticulously, and anticipate every possible outcome, we can shape the world according to our desires. This belief is not only pervasive, but also deeply ingrained in how we approach life. We often convince ourselves that by controlling every detail, we can avoid disappointment, failure, or pain. However, this mindset is not only misguided, but also a source of much of our suffering. The illusion of control manifests in various ways. It might be seen in our relationships, where we attempt to influence the behavior or emotions of others, believing that if we say or do the right things, we can ensure the responses we desire. It might also appear in our professional lives, where we believe that by perfecting every aspect of our work, we can guarantee success and recognition. And yet, despite our best efforts, we frequently encounter situations where outcomes do not align with our expectations. When reality does not conform to our plans, we are left frustrated, anxious, and often disillusioned. This frustration stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of control. The Stoics teach us that while we can influence certain aspects of our lives, we do not have ultimate control over the outcomes. We can control our actions, decisions, and attitudes, but the results of those actions are influenced by a multitude of factors beyond our grasp. Recognizing this truth is the first step toward freeing ourselves from the tyranny of the illusion of control. True freedom, according to Stoic philosophy, comes not from the ability to control external events, but from the ability to control our internal responses. When we release our attachment to specific outcomes and focus instead on how we respond to whatever happens, we discover a profound sense of liberation. We are no longer enslaved by our desires or fears, nor are we constantly at the mercy of external circumstances. Instead, we become masters of our own minds, capable of maintaining inner peace and stability, even in the face of uncertainty. This shift in focus from external control to internal mastery is transformative. It allows us to approach life with a sense of equanimity, knowing that while we cannot dictate the course of events, we can always choose how we navigate them. This perspective does not diminish our efforts or ambitions. Rather, it refines them. We continue to strive for excellence in our endeavors, but we do so with the understanding that our worth and well-being do not depend on the outcome. This mindset is not about passivity or resignation. It is about aligning our efforts with the realities of life. To cultivate this mindset, we must first acknowledge the areas in our lives where the illusion of control is most prevalent. Where do we find ourselves most frustrated when things do not go as planned? In what situations do we feel the most anxiety when we cannot predict or manage the outcome? By identifying these areas, we can begin to consciously shift our focus from controlling external events to controlling our internal responses. The next step is to practice acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up or lowering our standards. It means acknowledging that there are factors beyond our control and choosing to focus on what we can influence, our own thoughts, attitudes, and actions. This practice is not about diminishing our efforts or aspirations, but about aligning them with the realities of life. When we accept the limits of our control, we can approach challenges with a clearer mind and a calmer heart, unburdened by unrealistic expectations. This leads us to an important reflection. How much of our stress and anxiety is rooted in the illusion of control? How might our lives change if we shifted our focus from trying to control external events to mastering our internal responses? Can we find freedom in letting go of the need to control outcomes and instead embrace the power we have over our own minds? The resilience of acceptance and the strength of inner focus. As we continue our exploration, we arrive at a concept that lies at the heart of Stoic thought: the power of acceptance. Acceptance is often misunderstood as passivity or resignation. Yet, in the Stoic sense, it is far from a surrender. Instead, acceptance is an active engagement with reality, a choice to acknowledge the world as it is rather than as we wish it to be. This acceptance is not a withdrawal from life, but a profound act of courage and clarity, allowing us to focus our energy where it can be most effective, within ourselves. Acceptance, in this context, is about recognizing the boundaries of our influence. It is the realization that, while we can strive to shape our actions and decisions, the outcomes are often determined by forces beyond our control. This understanding does not lead to inaction. Rather, it guides us to act with purpose and integrity while releasing attachment to the results. By accepting what is beyond our influence, we free ourselves from the frustration and disappointment that come from trying to control the uncontrollable. The resilience that comes from this acceptance is powerful. When we stop resisting reality, we stop wasting energy on futile efforts to change what cannot be changed. This energy is then redirected toward what truly matters: our own responses, our own growth, and our own well-being. Resilience, therefore, is not about toughness or rigidity. It is about flexibility and adaptability. It is the ability to remain steady in the face of life's inevitable uncertainties, to bend without breaking, and to find strength not in control, but in acceptance. This acceptance is not merely an intellectual exercise. It must be practiced daily in every situation we encounter. When faced with a challenge, we ask ourselves, what is within my influence? What is beyond it? By making this distinction, we can focus on what we can do, whether it is changing our perspective, adjusting our expectations, or taking constructive action, while letting go of what we cannot change. This practice gradually builds an inner resilience that allows us to navigate life's complexities with grace and wisdom. But acceptance also requires us to confront our deepest fears and desires. Often, our resistance to reality is rooted in fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of uncertainty. These fears drive us to cling to the illusion of control, to try to force outcomes that align with our desires. Acceptance asks us to face these fears head-on, to acknowledge them, and to release their hold on us. It is only by confronting these fears that we can truly embrace the freedom that comes with acceptance. This brings us to the strength of inner focus. Once we accept the limits of our influence, we can turn our attention inward to the one domain we truly control, our own mind. Inner focus is the practice of directing our thoughts and emotions toward what is constructive and aligned with our values. It is the discipline of cultivating a mindset that is resilient, calm, and centered, regardless of external circumstances. This inner focus is the cornerstone of Stoic resilience, the ability to maintain our equilibrium no matter what life throws our way. Inner focus requires continuous practice. It involves becoming aware of our thoughts and emotions, observing them without judgment, and guiding them toward a state of balance and clarity. It means choosing to respond to situations with wisdom rather than reacting out of impulse or fear. Over time, this practice strengthens our inner resolve, enabling us to remain unshaken by the external world's turbulence. As we reflect on this concept, consider the following. What would it mean for you to truly accept the limits of your control? How would your life change if you focused more on your internal responses and less on external outcomes? What strength could you discover within yourself if you embrace the resilience of acceptance and the discipline of inner focus? The liberation of letting go and the power of inner mastery. As we reach the final stage of our exploration, we arrive at a profound realization. True liberation lies in the act of letting go. This may seem counterintuitive in a world that often equates control with strength and success. Yet, the Stoic understanding of life teaches us that it is not through controlling the external world that we find freedom, but through mastering our inner world. This mastery is not about domination, but about understanding, acceptance, and the conscious decision to release what is beyond our control. Letting go is an act of liberation, because it frees us from the chains of attachment that bind us to outcomes, situations, and expectations that we cannot influence. When we cling to the need for control, we become prisoners of our desires and fears, constantly battling against the unpredictable nature of life. This struggle not only exhausts us, but also distracts us from what truly matters, the cultivation of our inner character and the pursuit of a life aligned with our deepest values. To let go is to acknowledge that the external world will unfold according to its own principles, often indifferent to our desires. This does not mean that we withdraw from life or cease to care about our actions and their consequences. On the contrary, it means that we engage with life fully, but with the understanding that our well-being does not depend on external outcomes. We do our best, we act with integrity, and then we release our attachment to the results. This is the essence of inner mastery, the ability to navigate life's complexities with a sense of peace and purpose, regardless of the circumstances we face. Inner mastery is not achieved through force or willpower alone, but through a deep understanding of the nature of reality and our place within it. It involves cultivating a mindset that is both humble and resilient, recognizing that while we are not the masters of the universe, we are the masters of our own minds. This mastery is expressed in our ability to choose our responses, to maintain our equanimity, and to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, attitudes, and actions, while letting go of what we cannot. As we let go of the need to control the uncontrollable, we discover a profound sense of freedom. This freedom is not the absence of challenges or difficulties, but the presence of an inner strength that allows us to face them without fear. It is the freedom to live in accordance with our values, to act with courage and compassion, and to find joy in the simple fact of being alive, regardless of what life brings our way. This liberation is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing practice. It requires us to continually examine our thoughts and behaviors, to recognize where we are still clinging to control, and to consciously choose to let go. It involves embracing uncertainty as a natural part of life, and finding comfort in the knowledge that while we cannot predict the future, we can always choose how we will meet it. As we conclude this exploration, I invite you to reflect on your own life. Where are you holding on too tightly, trying to control what cannot be controlled? What would it look like to let go, to trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes your way with grace and wisdom? How might your life change if you focused on mastering your inner world rather than controlling the outer one? In the end, the Stoic philosophy teaches us that the greatest power we possess is not the ability to control the world, but the ability to control ourselves. By embracing this truth, we find not only peace and resilience, but also the true freedom that comes from living in harmony with the nature of reality and the wisdom that lies within us.